first thing I should say, sorry, because I adjusted my title, not the title on the agenda. Sorry. So my title is Adaptation Method. I will elaborate it from the China-Europe cooperation point of view. In fact, in China, in my academy, one of my previous bosses, he got a good sense of humor. He said, if you don't study the Belt and Road Initiative, then you're not a Chinese scholar. So here, to prove I am a Chinese scholar, so I'm here to talk about something about the Belt and Road Initiative. After the 5-year implementation of this initiative, there is a clear division on the views of this initiative. Some think that it's a good opportunity to approach a cooperation with China, and but on the other hand, some think that China will buy the world by this initiative, or China divide and rule, or it's a counterbalance. So as a scholar, I always ask my colleagues and myself that, so who or what creates this division on the views of the Belt and Road Initiative? In fact, my answer is the willingness and the way of adaptation to this evolving world creates this kind of division. But before I elaborate further, I would like to clarify a few definitions and preconditions of my speech in order to avoid any misunderstanding between me and my speech and the audiences. First, Europe. The Europe in my speech includes European countries and the EU itself, the 3 EU institutions. And the European country represents not only the EU member states, but also the candidates, or let's say the Balkan countries. And Central and Eastern Europe in my speech is the 16 countries who participated in the 16+1 cooperation. And not the traditional Eastern Europe, nor the so-called Eastern and Central Europe, which are different. And there are 4 preconditions of my speech. I think they are very important. First, my speech doesn't conclude or imply with any normative judgment or value judgment, because I believe that in this world there's no such a simple question, who is black or who is white. And especially when we are talking about China-Europe cooperation or China-CE cooperation, they are complex. It's a complex issue. And second, the changes in this world are based on the perception of cost and benefit. The people, or let's say the elites, they have their own perception on the opportunities in this world. And the opportunities are based on their perception of cost and the benefit. When the internal and the external conditions are changing, and these changes will bring about changes on the perception of opportunities. So, this will decide whether these elites support these changes or oppose to these changes. And third, no prediction. I am a scholar. I always focus on the practical issues, and I didn't do prediction. So I always focus things in the past, at present, or let's say the near future, like 4 or 5 years. So I think a more practical question which should be asked is how can we approach cooperation under the current circumstances? And last but the most important prediction is the world is a non-robotic world. So what does it mean? I confess, I borrowed this notion from the famous American economic historian, Dr. Once he said, an robotic world would be one in which there was a fundamental underlying structure to the system. And then so that all you had to do would be to discover it in order to know how to deal with the new problems. But, he said, our world is clearly a non-abundant world. We are creating worlds that never existed before, and we are creating them without the self-awareness of what the implications are. So what the implications are? First, I don't mean to make you all depressed, but let's say to be humility, to be modest towards this evolving world, and to be cautious about the limitation of our ability to solve the new problems in this world, since this world is an unavoidable world. And second, since there is no such a fundamental fixed structure in this world, so there is no universal solution or universal guidelines to this evolving world. And what can we do? In my opinion, we should to adapt and to evolve together with this involvement and with these changes in this world, rather than leaving them under our own limited framework of perceptions. So these are the preconditions and definitions I think I should clarify in advance before my speech. And as I said, there is no universal solution guideline. All we need to do is to adapt and evolve together with these changes. So next I will elaborate how China adapts to this evolving world. I think this is the origin of the Belt and Road Initiative. When a government comes to power, the first thing they need to do is to analyze the internal and external conditions and form their policy package and then prioritize their directions. And when our President Xi came to power, he did exactly the same thing. At that time, internally, China wanted to transform its economic growth model from a model based on quantity to a model based on efficiency and quality. Then at the same time, Chinese economy slowed down. That's because we are entering into a new normal. However, the transformation needs new dynamics. The old ones doesn't work well if we are talking about the transformation of our economy. And on the other hand, externally, China has to redefine its role in the context of this evolving political and economic order. There are two issues I'd like to raise. One is the policy and pressure comes from the U.S. Because at that time, the U.S. proposed the return to Asia, and they were promoting the TPP and the TTIP. And I think Junchi, exactly in Bratislava in 2004, maybe 2003, he said here that these two treaties, the TPP and the TTIP, will transform or will create a new alliance between Pacific and Atlantic, and it will give the West a new dynamic in this world. And except for the U.S. policy, the new emerging economy, the weight of these economies also rests, let's say, Brazil or South Africa. So under this external and external background, the BRI was proposed. First, it is proposed as a step to cope with these new conditions. And secondly, it is proposed as an adaptation to these geopolitical and geo-economic challenges. Because China has realized and has recognized these changes in this world, and he wants to adapt to these changes in order to redefine his role in this new evolving world. But when we are talking about adaptation, the adaptation, I think, is a mutual process. For example, when you are adapting to something, and this thing will also be changed, or this thing will changes due to your adaptation. It's a mutual process. There is no such adaptation which only happen on the one side and the other side it just stay there as fixed. towards China. First, the EU has always been trying to define China. In 2006, the EU said China is a closer partner, and China wants to grow and seek a place in this world. And after a decade, in 2016, the EU said China's increased weight and emphasis on going global mean that it is seeking a bigger role and exerting a greater influence. And in this year, the EU said China's economic power and political influence reflects an ambition to become a leading global power. So, first, China wants to seek a place, and then China wants to seek a bigger role and exert a greater influence. And last, the EU has reached this conclusion that China has an ambition to be a leading global order. So I think this is the EU's conclusion on the definition of China. And based on this definition, EU expressed several so-called threats, which is concerning about China. Let's review these threats. First, the threat in foreign investment. The EU said the speed of Chinese foreign investment in Europe represents a threat. And in this region, since the establishment of the 16+1, there are many numerous voices who complain that China doesn't do the greenfield investment in this region. And so what is the result of the 16+1 cooperation? China always do the merge and the acquisitions, and which creates less job or less opportunities for the locals. But let's say, I quoted these pictures and the numbers from the EU's report. And let's see the first picture. So where is China? According to EU's report, the US accounts for 40% of EU's mergers and acquisition deals. So the US is the purple one, the largest part. And where is China? It is the light green part. So it's a big difference. But I think at least in this region, I never heard that there is some complaints about the US model of investment, of their mergers and acquisitions. And the second picture is about the distribution of non-EU controlled EU companies by origin. Let's say there are two parts. The first is number of firms. Let's say US and Canada. They account for a little less than 30%. And where is China? It's less than 10%. And let's see the total assets, which is the difference is much more larger. The US and Canada accounts for more than 60%. And where is China? It's only 43%. So it's a much difference, and you can see the US and Canada invested much more assets than the Chinese. The third picture. This is the distribution of non-EU controlled companies and assets in the EU sectors. These are top 20 sectors in EU. And let's say, except for the financial part and the wholesale trade, there's no sector which where the foreign investment exceeds 10%. In fact, most of them only less than 1%. So the EU, in fact, Europe, protected its own sectors very well. So where is the threat in the EU sectors? And according to EU's logic, I think it's a little bit humorous. Because let's see the CE region, for example, Hungary. In the Hungarian financial sector, so how much accounts for the foreign investment? I think it's more than 70. So let's say the automobile sector, how much accounts for Germany or US investment in this region? But I never heard that the US or the Germany is a threat to this region, because Germany buys so much sectors. So I think the threat in the so-called threat in this foreign investment sector, I don't think that this is convincing enough. And the next threat is the threat to inequality. We all say that the Europe has won China divide and rule the Europe. But I suppose Europe or the EU should have known that entry into the EU doesn't necessarily mean they will agree on every issue and they will necessarily or naturally bring about a solidarity. These are two different things. And maybe there are connections, but not so strong. And I think the EU member states, or let's say the candidates together, they will only agree with EU when their perceptions on the cost and the benefit is proper. Their costs will be smaller than their benefit in the future. And only on this occasion, the member states will agree with EU. And ironically, please note, ironically, China helps EU to find a common place and formulate a win-win cooperation inside the EU. It is the foreign investment screening legislation. The EU, by adopting this legislation, namely EU protects the Europe from China, and the EU fulfill its obligations. And then the member states get a new tool, a new leverage from the EU when negotiating with China, because the member states has the final decision, the right of final decision on the foreign investment coming to this country. And in this situation, whose cost will be more? It's China. Because you got all the new leverages from the EU. But what did China say? I think, according to our state councillor, Mr. Wang Yi, during his recent visit to the EU's headquarters, he said Europe will still remain and always be China's important partner. And the last threat, the threat in system and the model of governance. In 2006, EU said it has an interest in supporting China's reform process. And after a decade, EU said he wants to engage China in this reform process in practical ways, which may result in mutual benefit. But I think the EU overestimated this. Because, like, for example, in Haiti or in Iraq, these two countries are never changed into the country which the US wanted to. And I don't think that in this world there is a country who has the ability to change another country according to its will. And another important thing is a foreign policy towards another country cannot be judged by its ability to change this country or to make your system a universal solution. If you want to, in fact, it is a wrong criteria to judge a foreign policy. And in fact, I think the best way to influence a country is to, and at the same time, to defend your own system is to set a good example, especially on the social development and the economical development. Only by this way you can set a good example, and if you want to influence another country. Because that country will see, by your solution, the social and the economic sphere develop in a very well way. But I think just today, this is the weakest point of Europe, I think. So, I think the above threats are not convincing enough. I can conclude that the EU has a defensive attitude towards this evolving world, and which is totally different from China's adaptation to this world. And this background, I think I should re-clarify the BRI in Europe and the BRI in this region. In fact, in this region, the 16+1 cooperation was proposed earlier. This region served as a destination of China's external actions. However, the characteristics of this cooperation cooperation, like let's say the materialism or the loose institutionalization or the practical cooperation, comprehensive cooperation, which is exactly the way of China's adaptation to this world. So when the BRI, this initiative was proposed, the 16+1 cooperation fits well into this larger initiative, which has a larger and bigger grant. And then CE region not only serves as a destination of China's external action, but also an indispensable part of China's adaptation to this evolving world. Because China has realized that the CE region is part of this evolving world, and Europe, the whole Europe, is also part of this involvement in the world. So by implementing the BRI, China, in fact, presents its own way of adaptation to the Europe. Because China knows that only with the Europe, only with part of this evolving world, that China can define its role and find its place in this world. But what is the goal of EU's or what is the goal of Europe's adaptation or let's say policies towards this evolving world, towards China? Does Europe know? I don't think so. It is to contain or change China, or it is to make Europe greater again and more competitive. Because if it is the previous one, as I said, since Europe doesn't set a good example on the social and economic development, I don't think it will succeed. And if it is the latter one, to make Europe greater again, and I don't think the Europe's defensive attitude really helps. So, conclusion. As I said, since this world is without a fixed structure, without a universal solution, and we should be modest towards this involvement. And first, the adaptation means mutual adaptation. As I said before, when you adapt to something, and this thing will be changed, and this thing has to change due to your adaptation. And so the real willingness of adaptation and your way of adaptation is vital to the survival and welfare of a country in this evolving world, because today's world is not a fixed world. And when we talk about the mutual process, I think the most important thing is how to face something you don't like. This is a really important question. It's about the people's perception and people's mind. And this question requires careful thought, how to face something you don't like. And but between China and China-Europe cooperation, there is something wrong. And I quote this sentence from Ms. Mugadini's speech. I think this recent speech, her recent speech, sorry. She said, too many leaders today speak the language of power politics only and confrontation only. However, the problem arises when the only language they speak is a power politics language, a zero-sum game language. I will lose. If you win, I must be losing without even realizing. So there is something wrong. Yes, there is something wrong under the China-Europe cooperation. That's why China keep saying that the BRI is not a power politic language. It is not a zero-sum game. It is a winning cooperation. Thank you.